What's his setup ting?
They set up people, you know.
Like, you think it's a hot girl, but it's a girl's older brother who kicks you in the nuts and takes your iPhone?
Basically, yeah. I'm Sagittarius Shawty, and I'm known for
Yeah,
being a
basically
battery
it.
king.
So it's a setup ting,
I want
you know?
this one.
Dude,
It's a setup ting.
you're stronger than me. I wouldn't have gone 5 seconds into that clip after seeing that. That
The yam
walrus.
shirt, the crybaby tat. She's Sagittarius Shotty.
Think we're rolling.
Now you see what I was
Pretty
saying.
good.
To kind of even to segue back to the last podcast. Now you see how I was saying how Mansers was just like a predecessor to stuff like that. You know, that Channel
Definitely.
5. Let's just go to a furry convention and start interviewing people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Start tackling these taboo subcultures. It's interesting.
But yeah, that didn't even get to the scat. There's a longer there's a longer clip where she's saying like dudes will shit on her for money. Sometimes she said they'll like pay them for the weekend. She'll just like stay at their house and just like shit on them whenever she needs to shit. And
Wait, that's the person doing the defecating?
yeah, people
Bro,
dudes will pay
there
her
is
to
some
shit on her.
nasty niggas in this world. That is crazy.
And then he asked like how much like per turd, and then I can't remember how much it was, like 200 or some shit.
Or is
I
it
don't
like
know.
per ounce?
per ounce of turd?
It's like a deli. Like you weigh the shit after.
You know, we need to see her ledger. How many
feeling
people are really
dirty.
paying for this? Did she just poop on like 2 dudes and she's just, you know, she's just a one-hit wonder rolling off that? Them
One shit
royalties?
wonder.
One shit wonder?
I don't know.
That was a good one. One
What,
shit
that one?
wonder.
Oh yeah.
It just hit me. It just shit me.
I
Man.
believe Adolf Hitler was into scat play. Enough about.
I've heard about that.
Ugh.
I've heard some weird things about Hitler.
How we feeling, boys?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Decent, yeah.
We're back. Back for episode Trace. Very symbolic episode. I feel like even since the inception of the idea of this podcast, I'm fucking up. Hold up. I gotta get this out 'cause that's gonna bother
About
me.
to roll up the Zen.
I was like, what do you do?
Smoke a
You
Zen.
gonna use the Zen as a filter?
But yeah, we're back. Episode 3. Feeling great. Feeling good. I feel like the concept for this episode had been brewing from the inception of the idea of the podcast.
Yeah, it was almost wanted to have that just be like a good way to start the podcast, like from episode 1 to just establish the fact that we're brothers. This get the family lore down. You know how we are the family PSM for a reason. So, episode 3, 3 brothers, 3 stories, 3 core memories, but you know, conversation may wander as well. Doesn't it?
Indeed. We're here with the zeitgeist. But as always, if this is your first time joining us, first time hearing the Brotherly Trio, okay, this is a podcast you will always remember. My name is Ghana G, a.k.a. Ghana Tropicana.
It's your boy, The Source. You like that, Tassian? It's your boy. I'm taking it back to
Your boy.
That's a T-Dollaz original over here. I learned from the best.
That's a classic.
The Source.
I am T-Dollaz PSM, government name Tassian. But yeah, we are always remember.
What have you guys been working on recently?
I mean, we're still, me and the head of the idea, the godhead of PSM, Jew, still working on a more Fatih. I've been real, like, let me be transparent. Like, haven't been as juiced up in terms of mixing. I feel like I'm just so in the mindset of like, I want to create. And then I get to that step of the mixing and I've been just kind of like, you know, again, doing it all, you know, either you're making the beat, recording yourself and mixing yourself. Sometimes it's just like a lot. Sometimes I just want to perform. Sometimes I just want to rap, you know? So I think, and on top of that, outside of the pod, I know we're all attempting Sober October. So, I mean, it's what, October 13th? It's only been a couple of weeks. And I'm a little sick if you can't tell by my voice. So it's like so many factors mentally have been just making me not as juiced as I'd like to be. But I know those time periods fade away.
I wanted to, before I get to you, I just wanted to ask you a question. With you talking about mixing and kind of just the fatigue with that, do you ever get, because this is something that I was kind of feeling editing this video, do you ever kind of just get almost tired? Like, you believe in your craft, but you're like, I'm just like tired of hearing this part of a song or something. Like you're fine tuning something and you're just looping it back so many times, or you just been working on a 30-second portion of a song for like 2 hours or something, and you're just sort of like tired of listening to it.
That's a good question. I excuse me. I fortunately never feel that feeling. I actually like that because it's almost like imagine a painter. Let's say you're working on this little area. It might feel tedious if you're not in the painter's head because the painter like knows the end result. So it's like I know how I want this clip to sound, and it's kind of fun and exciting to get closer and closer to it. So like looping over and over doesn't really fatigue me. It's really just the whole process of like the more and more I spend time mixing, the better I get, the more I want to do. So then when I hit those thresholds of what I'm skillfully capable of and then what I want, then I kind of get that fatigue. So like for example, the last song for our tape that I got to mix is a solo song, and I can't get my hook to sound right. Like I want this singing part to sound grand and similar to another song that I've mixed, but I can't get it there. So it's like that's what's fatiguing me, is like when I can't accomplish what I'm hearing in my head versus like the actual work itself. But that just I've always dealt with the fear of failure, and you can't every single time I make a decision that I'm somewhat afraid, whether it's mixing or career wise, it's always good. It always ends up good. So it's just like, damn, God has given me that lesson again. Like, just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of it sounding bad or this and that. Like, just do your best and you'll be blessed. Ooh, write that down. Do your best and you'll be blessed.
Keys from G. I saw you, busting out the old FL Studio again.
Yeah, I was the other day I was trying to dabble back into FL because I haven't been making a lot of stuff outside of school. I'm studying art in school, so most of the stuff that I've been doing creative wise for the past several months has just been like student work, projects for class, and that is a lot of fun. It's fun learning different techniques and dabbling into new things like that. But in my own like personal work or free time, I haven't been doing a lot of things. I haven't made a lot of like personal visual art. So that takes like it takes a lot. Like I feel like with art, it has to be like you beyond just like pure expression, like you're saying something or expressing some sort of vision. So sometimes it's like I don't really have much to say, or that comes from life experience or whatever. So when I'm not feeling inspired or like really drawn to do something visually, I feel like making music is something that I can dabble back into. So I was trying to like mess around in FL Studio again. And that's like a goal for myself that I want to do, is to just get back into just doing little things, even if it's just like trying to make a beat a day or doing like a drawing or something. Just putting some energy every day into trying to do a creative thing, no matter how small it is. And then I think once you get into that routine, then I can like build on that habit, and that could lead to more stuff in the future. But yeah,
Sometimes it's hard to breed that consistency. Like I remember when I first moved out, it was like beat every day. Even recording almost at least once a week. I had like so many freestyles, and some of them became songs or turned into Morphati songs. But I don't know what it is of the last maybe, honestly, since I transferred stores at work. What was that, June? I haven't been like as, thank God for a Morphati, like because that's what's been keeping me tethered to the art. But I agree with your point on like needing experience. And sometimes I feel like when there's so much tumultuous energy, whether it be the heart or the mind, it's hard to focus on that stuff. But I do believe that when those feelings resolve, it's just going to pour into the art. Like I think about the worst time of my life. And when that time period kind of came to an end, Genesis was the result of that. So it's like you do need to go through things and then allow your consciousness
Available
to
on
turn it
Spotify.
into ideas.
Got a G. Just want to get the plug in there. Genesis,
Oh, and I know you were.
Just-
You go ahead. You go ahead. Because I had a little segue.
Now, yeah, I'll slip that in there for you. But I wanted to connect with what you were saying. You said thank God for Amor Fati, for keeping you tethered to the art. I do. Like I agree with that, because having the 007 Diaries video, which is available on the Source PSM YouTube channel, that was something that just sort of keeps me focused. Like, I like having something to work on. Like, I need a project to kind of keep me going, where I need kind of something to always put a creative energy towards. And sort of when I'm kind of in between projects, in between a piece, even when it was just like, some articles there, kind of waiting for that inspiration to strike, which really, you just got to go and find it. But those times in between projects, I'm just like, you can kind of get into a habit of laziness. And it's like that's a lot easier to fall into. But I do need a project. I like having that to sort of keep my creative attention focused.
And that's something that we have to be grateful for, that we each have this niche, because we can help keep each other tethered, whether it's like ideas, or even just like checking in, like, yo, like the question you asked, what you been working on. But I wanted to, and I'm glad you made up that point, because it even adds to the segue. I had something written down, but what do you think drew each of you guys into the specific zone that we were at? I might have told the story of how I got into music making, but I almost feel like in this day and age, it's super easy and not even surprising or unique to get into music making. Maybe unique what you can do with the path, but just making music isn't unique. So when you hear stories of like, oh, you are into multimedia art, or you're into writing, T, if you wanted to start, like what drew you into this being the niche? Because when I explain PSM to people, I'm like, yeah, I make music. My brother writes. My other brother, he had an art piece in the art museum, like blah, blah, blah. If that's what we're being labeled as, what brought you into that field?
It's kind of just something that I just kind of fell into, because as a kid, like I liked arts and crafts things. Like, I remember like being a kid and like getting like arts and crafts sets like for Christmas, or like little things. Like, I remember one time we were kids and we were like trying to draw our own Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like our own like Yu-Gi-Oh characters. So I always thought, like, even in middle school, getting into that time period, like I always thought that was cool, like seeing those kind of kids that would just like doodle in class. Like, I always thought drawing was cool, but it always seemed like something that you either have or you don't as a skill. But then getting older, it's like, okay, art, drawing, these things are just like skills that anybody can do. Like, some people will say that they're just not creative people, and I think everybody is creative. It might not be in like a visual art sense, but I think everyone is creative. It's an innate feature in everybody, but it just manifests in different ways. But in terms of like technical ability and art, it's something that is a skill and just comes from dedication and practice. But yeah, I always liked art. And then I didn't take art in middle school because I was like in orchestra. I played an instrument. And then in high school, I took a couple of art classes. And then it wasn't until 2018 that I started doing visual stuff. So I was probably like 22 or 23. But I just started making collages, like just straight up like scissors and glue stick and just like old magazines and books that I collected, because I love collecting things. I love, physical media, which is something we all have that same love for. But it just started off just making like simple collages, and I don't remember really what drew it to me initially, what made me want to start doing that. It just kind of just something that happened. And then so I started building on that, and then just slowly over the next couple of years is when it kind of grew into this whole mixed media thing, where I was building on the collage and was like incorporating like acrylic paint and even like found objects, and was doing eventually like these like collage paintings. So it started from that, just like the just straight up collage stuff. But I don't remember like how I initially, like what made me want to do it at first. And then music, like that started in high school, just getting cracked FL Studio on the laptop and just like messing around with that, watching YouTube videos and trying to teach ourselves. Yeah, the CIA is gonna get me and
ImageLine.
everybody
I
else.
purchased my copy.
Nowadays, shout out to ImageLine. I have purchased FL Studio, but
Is
back
that like
in the day-
Swedish people who?
I think.
Yeah,
You
it's
know
a
they don't pay
it's a
taxes.
Swedish guy.
You know, you're not ripping off anybody.
They do pay taxes, and it's going to socialized Medicare. But yeah, making beats too is just like being in high school and just trying to mess around on FL Studio and just doing that stuff. But yeah, I feel like art and being creative was something I've always enjoyed as a kid or like getting older. And like we were all in CTE, we were all in audio and video production. And even at that time in high school was when it was like, oh, like making stuff is fun. Like it gives a sense of fulfillment and pride with the finished product, and also just like trying to make your friends laugh. That was when I was like, okay, I do like doing this. But yeah, so it's something I've never really been super I've been like sporadic with it with my creative endeavors, but I feel like it's something that's always been there.
That's a great point you made about just with CTE, and then also discovering how much satisfaction you can get from creating something, but also, like you said, making your friends laugh or just making yourself laugh, because that was sort of my goal always. And also kind of like that competitive spirit in a way, where I was like in CT, I'm like, okay, I want to make the funniest thing here. Like, okay, you guys are taking this news project seriously. Like, no, I'm going to make it like actually informative and you know, include these things, make it, you know, polished so it hits that rubric, but also be tongue-in-cheek, you know, try to always kind of have something that, you know, where you're not taking yourself too seriously. You kind of stick it to the school system or something. But
we all have the same teacher. And to add to your point,
not me though.
You didn't have Mr.
I did not have him. Nah, a different guy, different cat.
Damn.
You don't remember? You remember? I never told you about.
I could have swore Mom went to like a thing with you with Mr. Story.
No, that was
my parent-teacher conference.
But Tassin wasn't there, but I went because I'm like, you know, I'm in.
Is he considered a public figure? Do we have to block out the name, Mr. Beat? But no, but I wanted to add to your point of like, I do agree with like any
Mr.
project,
S, like it's fucking Reservoir Dogs.
Mr. S,
Mr. White,
just no first name, and he'll be good.
no first name. But to add to your point, like wanting to always be funny no matter what. And I remember, the instructor of that class went up to me and Jaleel, me and Jew, and was like, "Not everything's the comedy bit." It's like, "Yes, it is, nigga. Life is a comedy bit."
in the Greek sense, a tragic comedy.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, but I wanted to add to what you had said before you get into your niche. There's like a magic of the story you told in terms of not knowing how you like fell into it, or that initial thing, just you able to piece these points in time together, but not finding this definitive moment. I think that I heard a quote, and I'm not going to say it because I'm a butcher it, but it's something along the lines of, you don't pick your passion, but your passion picks you. And it almost kind of sounds like you were describing that.
Yeah, I've heard that quote too, and yeah, I agree with that. And I feel like that's like the best way, because like, you know, everyone wants to find themselves and find what they're gonna do with their life, and sometimes you just fall into things, and when they happen naturally like that, I think it is beautiful.
I just found out yesterday the etymology of to fall. Like an old sense of the word fall wasn't like a physical thing, but like to succumb to. So that's where we get like the phrases to fall in love or someone fell ill. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I love shit like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of etymology and words.
Yeah, random etymology fact that I was going to bring up, totally unrelated, but just related to the fact of etymology, because I was just like, yo, where the fuck does the dog name Fido come from? Come here, Fido. Like, where did that originate from, that cliche dog name? It actually comes from the Latin fidus, which means loyal. So there you fucking go. I remember reading that and I was like, wow, that's perfect. That's like, I totally see why you named dogs Fido. But
I never even heard that dog name.
Fido, you never heard from like just like a
It
cartoon?
sounds like like a TV show dog name.
I think
Fido.
of like Spot or something like that.
Or Max.
Max, yeah.
Rex is more scrappy.
Yeah,
Come here,
Re-
Rex.
He's like a
has
bulldog.
He has a
Yeah.
Yeah.
chain for a collar.
Yeah, Rex.
Spikes on it.
Yeah.
Spike.
Fido, yeah.
Oh Jesus. But yeah, speaking of etymology and words, like with all of us being creative, what kind of drew you to the world of literature?
That's quite a profound way to put it. The world of literature. I'm not covering Jane Austen over here on the familypsm.com. No, but no,
All
I
right,
do.
Hemingway.
Alan Wake, man, I love that. He says, there's so many. He's like, all right, put the gun down, Dostoevsky. Like, you're running out of road, Vonnegut. Like, he's out here with the fucking literature. That shit is, like, yeah, great video game. But yeah, I feel like writing to me, like, it's interesting, you know, because there's kind of like, there's almost an imposter syndrome itself that lies in like the media journalism or covering of film or music or like that sort of like blog sphere or that, you know, media journalism, because it's like, okay, there's an art to it, of course, but it's like you can sort of be in your own head of like, all right, you're not creating anything, you're talking about things that already exist, that people have already created. But it's like sometimes you can feel a certain way about something, and you can blend that with, oh, I can also see what the artist was intending. And maybe there's somebody who enjoys this movie or somebody who really fucks with this album, but they never thought about it in this way. And maybe because there's been times that I remember just like watching some, you know, video essay on Mad Men or some Roger Ebert article on The Godfather, and the way that you can put into words the sort of like four-dimensional, like abstract ideas of art, and sort of put that in words of, here's what the artist was intending, and here's why you're fucking with it, and here's why it's so poetic to the eyes of this, that, and the other. So that's something that sort of draws me to writing about film, making content about art, you know, whatever whatever impassions me, whatever intrigues me.
When do you feel like you first started taking it like I remember when I first started trying to make music, and when I first was like, oh, this is the calling. Like, when did you kind of get that sense and took it a little bit more seriously?
I feel like it started just on my Instagram page, nd.thesource, still the same Instagram. Got posts dating back to, you know, like 2016 on there, 2017, just random out of context film posts. But it started with just, you know, just going through a period of like a film renaissance where I was just like watching so many movies, new movies every day, multiple movies a day. You know, you're in school, it's, you know, high school, whatever, you're unemployed, you got a lot of free time, watch a lot of movies. And I would sort of
Pinot?
I would sort of just log the movies. I would always post a still of whatever I watched out of context, maybe post a quote. And then it got into, because first I would just start like taking notes in my notes app about, okay, like it started like, I would put sort of myself into it, like how it made me feel. Like I would almost try to have it, like have there be prose to it. And that's where it gets into literature. Like when I write, I try to approach it like I would literature, how you would analyze a piece of text. And you always got to keep it, you know, that imposter syndrome. You try not to be pretentious about it, not to overread into things, but
you're already a step ahead of most journalists in that aspect. You have humility.
But you know, and also with humility, like my tagline that I put on the website, on my fucking letterbox, on the Medium, on the YouTube channel, is like for lovers of the game, or for the love of the game. Because I also feel like, although you should point when things are bad, you should say that they're bad. When something's shitty, you should say it's shitty. You know, like Joker Folia Doe. You can, but that's a dead horse being. Everybody's saying that. It's easy to slam dunk on that. But like, when things are bad, you can say they're bad. But I feel like there's a lot of sensationalism in negativity. Negativity is something that's very easy to go to. Like, let's just say like in the world of video games, video game journalism, whether it be in print, I'm just gonna use print, but like articles like Games Radar or IGN or this, that, and the other, or whether it be some video essays on YouTube. say there's some Ubisoft game and it's, you know, it's shit, but it's like it's very easy to just get caught up in like I'm just gonna slam dunk on whatever this is that's a bad product. To me, I like to more so focus on things that I fuck with, but also put myself within the artist's intent. Like I'm not a person, I don't like to watch a movie and give it a like a score, like a metric. Or now if there's an editor who's paying me, is like, hey, right, you know, review this movie, give it a score. Like, I'll come up with some sort of metric to kind of some sort of logistical thing to measure it, but I can't like quantify it numerically because I'm like,
It becomes arbitrary.
it becomes arbitrary, but I'm also like how I hold each movie differently. Like, okay, so The Godfather is 5 stars, but then how to like Punch Drunk Love by Paul Thomas Anderson. That's a great fucking movie, but they're totally different movies. Like one, you know, totally different styles. Where I'd try to view things as what
I gave it a
was.
4.
That's funny. That's if you look at my letterbox. I also put that. I say for the lovers of the game, and I also put Starless Wonder because I don't give star ratings on letterbox or just in general. But I try to
quote.
just
What is that quote for? Because I like that.
Starless Wonder.
Yeah.
I just the fact that I just don't have any star ratings. I have all these movies logged, but no ratings. But it's like I just try to.
Well, I get the
try to
context of
judge
the quote,
things.
and that's why I like it. But like, what do you use it for? Like to describe yourself or like your writings, or your pieces on movies rather.
To just give context to, if you look at my letterbox, there's no ratings at all. So Starless Wonder, that was sort of like why I said that.
Oh, okay. Because
And I
feel
only
like
use it on
should
there.
be.
I fuck with it. I like it.
Yeah,
You could
that's
use it
cool.
elsewhere. Yeah, there's a
cool.
versatility to it, but to pretty much to close that, it's like I feel like I try to judge things individually on like a case by case basis, especially like with music, because there's different types of music out there. Like I can listen to fucking Die-Lit. I can listen to some early Playboy Cardi, or I can listen to some flex rap with some good production, and I can be like, oh, this is. Lil Keed was going for a vibe here, but then I can also listen to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, and I can appreciate some, or I'll go fucking back to The Wall by Pink Floyd, where it's all different music, and I judge it. Okay, how sincere was the artist to whatever they were making? If they were trying to make like, I'm just trying to make a fun song you can bump your head to, you were sincere to that. You weren't trying to be anything you're not. So if you're trying to make some, you know, some pulpy 80s action movie, like I can enjoy Die Hard, but I can also enjoy Casablanca, you know what I'm saying? Both of, you know, it's all about, are you sincere to what you're trying to make? So for the love of the game.
For the love of the game. And I can definitely tell that in your writings that you're being sincere. So I feel like that's a really good aspect to give to people, because sincerity is, I feel like, something definitely lacking from new, or I don't want to use the word mainstream, but from media in general.
But what drew me to it is being I like to just like being a loner. I can consume content and I can keep it to myself. Like I don't need to like watch something with somebody, and I can just sort of have these thoughts and keep them to myself. But I like to, okay, let me sit behind a keyboard. Let me get this out there in this way, but in this polished way. And some other people are like, oh wow, that's cool. I fuck with The Wire. That's some interesting backstory there that you brought up. Again, also another piece. If you're interested in The Wire, you fuck with the HBO classic. There's some backstory there on the real players behind The Wire on the familypsm.com. But yeah,
you brought up music, and I thought it was interesting that it felt like there was a time period in our lives where we were all listening to different genres and never really conforming or coming together in any way until that little shift. I can't really place it. Maybe there was a slight two-man responsibility between like Kid Cudi and Young Thug, and then later Uzi and Cardi. But I wanted to touch on that, where I feel like you were listening to a lot of punk rock or indie rock or more of that field, and you were listening to a lot of the classics, getting on, you know, all different genres, and I was just kind of like only listening to one little bubble of rap, not even all of rap. As the years go by, then we start coming together. Now a lot of our playlists, even though they're completely different, there's a lot more songs that we share versus like in the past. And what do you think kind of was the influence of that? Was it just the ages partly a factor, or is it the music itself maybe just the world that we live in, we're relating on certain things a little more. Because there was a time period where, I could play, I don't know if I got an intruder, I could play, go into the whip and play any type of song and like we wouldn't all be fucking with it versus now.
I think my theory for that, at least for me personally, is it's me starting to smoke weed and joining in on those sessions in the car and sort of getting that, because that was about 2018. So that was when Dilate dropped.
Came out.
So there was also a lot of that era, a lot of that sound of Lil Uzi, Young Thug, Playboi Carti that was being played a lot. And
not even knowing Pierre was such a big hand in that too.
The black hand, the hidden
purple hand.
The purple hand, that's funny. The purple velvet hand. Well, no, that'd be Prince. Do you accept Pierre Bourne stealing the color purple from Prince?
It's like a different purple. Like, I feel like Prince's purple, I'm being so abstract right now, but like Prince's purple is like this
a color formerly known as purple.
It's it's a purple that has like a little glitter to it, like like real shiny, like a fucking Hot Wheel.
Veneer.
And Pierre's purple is just that plain fucking purple that sounds like a
like
reversed sample.
It's like those I can't remember the names, but it's like the it'll have like the square of the color and it'll have like the numbers of like what it is, like
the actual hue.
Yeah, the actual like mathematical hue. It's Pierre purple.
It's Pierre purple, yeah. So, there's Prince's purple and Pierre purple. Prince's purple will fuck your bitch in heels, and Pierre's purple will do it in Tim's.
Lingerie purple, of course. That's a great line. But no, I do feel like that overlap just in our music taste kind of just, I feel like it did come from that, at least for me. I don't know, because that was an interesting point. Like you in middle school, Tassin, you were listening to like what? Waves,
Arctic Monkeys,
Nirvana, you're on your grunge. Which you still,
stuff like Crystal Castles.
Still carry that with you. We all it's interesting how it's like we have this like Venn diagram where there's this like, it's a Venn triangle, 333, but it's like we have this overlap with our tastes. It's like, we're all pretty,
I like that for a Always Remember logo, just like a stamp, just a Venn triangle, because the three triangles on top of each other should make somehow, I don't know if it's going to be a triangle in the middle. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Hey, we'll send that to
idea.
the art department.
Yeah.
Well, you're the art department, Tassin.
the art director.
You're the creative director. But no, I feel like that we're like on the same page with so many artists, but then we all have those people that we retreat to. And even with you with hip hop more, like there's a lot that I feel like you lived through more, where it's like, man, like when you were sending that Trinidad James, where I'm like, man, that's, or like
you're not gonna find that if you were 5 years younger,
or when Rich
wouldn't come up.
When Rich Homie Quan died, R.I.P. Like how you were like, okay, you were quick to these songs. Where I feel like there's also a lot of the early 2010s hip hop that you were very familiar with that I missed out on, that you can kind of go back to. But
like I remember being able to still watch the Millie music video, like that was still available on the dish.
Xfinity on demand. I remember that shit. Yeah. That's the one where he's falling back into the tub.
No, that's the one where he's like coming out of the tour bus. It's like a one shot. It's a fucking Scorsese.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, check. What's the music video where he's falling back doing the Inception parody spoof homage? Where
Lil Wayne?
There's a music video out there where he's on a chair, bathtub filled with water, and he's falling backwards into it. That's Lil Wayne,
that
right?
So familiar.
Anybody in the room think of that?
I started thinking about.
It's interesting.
Pools.
Also,
swimming pools was on the radio.
I'm just breaking the fourth wall. I think you may know because there was a Pigeons and Planes post that I saw that you liked. That was a compilation of music videos, specifically hip hop videos that spoofed movies. Like I had Kanye West who did Akira. So I think. But there's something there.
We'll put a pin in that one.
We'll put it.
Sorry, I was looking at this. I didn't want to say it and be wrong. 6 foot, 7 foot. That's what the song was.
He falls. He falls in a tub in the 6 foot, 7 foot music video.
Yeah, he does. I remember that. It's
That
funny.
is interesting.
It's funny because I was trying to remember because I just remember there being a sample, but for some reason I kept thinking of Watch the Throne with the Petchini. I kept thinking of that instead of the 6 foot, 7 foot. Yeah. So
I haven't seen that video. But yeah, I think personally. Oh, sorry. Were you gonna continue?
I just started thinking about Corey Guns' verse. That shit was so fucking funny. Like a lima bean. The fuck? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. In terms of like the different tastes in our music from when we were, in adolescence growing up, and so it's like you're more different when you're in different stages of growing up than when you're all adults. So like when we had differing taste, I think it came down to, like you said, one, the age gap, and also just like the temperament of our personality. Like when I was really into like pop punk music, like Fall Out Boy and Green Day and Waves, and getting into like Nirvana and alternative rock, indie rock, I loved like the energy of the music. And so I liked a lot of like up-tempo type of music. And I look at the source and the type of like literature mind that you had. I know you very much appreciated the lyricism of some of these people like Bob Dylan or some of these more acclaimed classic rock songwriters.
Johnny's in the basement mixing up the medicine. I'm on the pavement thinking about the government.
Yeah, I don't even know who that
Biggie?
is. So I feel like it also comes down to just like our personalities as well.
And that does make a lot of sense in terms of like just whatever time period you're kind of going through in life. Because I think about, I did write this down too, but the Zampage era, like all loving Lil Peep and just getting sucked into that world. And it's like now it's like, okay, yeah, R.I.P. Pete for life. Love that nigga for life and what he was able to do with his music in such a short time. But I'm not listening to fucking Hellboy no more. Like I can't physically bring myself to
It's
listen
hard.
to a Lil Peep song anymore.
It takes you
There's
back
a
to
time
an
that's
era.
all I was playing.
I
Yeah.
was there for that. I didn't like that time because I remember just being held hostage in the back seat, smoking blunts.
You're
where
gonna
it's
hear
just
Lil
like,
Kennedy again.
oh, it's so it's Lil Kennedy is so sad.
Lil
That's
Kennedy.
such a sad.
I remember a specific time at work where I was listening to that on repeat
Jesus.
for a closing shift, and I'm just
It's like a minute and 15 seconds anyway.
yeah, the Nedar beats. Some Nedar beats were so goddamn sad.
Lil Kennedy on repeat is like fucking your own personal Joker film. Like that is a
Those
dark.
pianos. Doom.
But Hellboy is good. Like if you're in a certain mood, I
Yeah,
don't really
it's melancholy.
So
It's like a fucking funeral march. That shit is
quite literally.
Oh, that fucking
yeah.
song. I can't remember the name where it's like, scratch my neck, make me bleed. I can't remember
That's
the
something
tune
off
anymore.
of Come Over When We're
No,
Sober.
Hellboy. It's like
Go ahead.
track 4.
Oh, I know which one you're talking
You know,
about.
it's
I
like-
don't care. No, that's the Marshmallow song.
No.
That's cause when na way. I hope they na. Yeah, that's the Marshmallow song. That came out after he died.
No, dude.
That's not on Hellboy.
Bro. Hold up.
All right, let's get the debate going. I like this. We
Cause it's
OMG.
no, that you're thinking of Spotlight, the one you just sang.
Okay, maybe I mixed up the lyrics, but he says the word bleed, I'm pretty sure. Something about his neck.
stand your ground, T. I like that. What's your rebuttal, Alphonse? No, I'm just kidding.
The lyrics.
Cause I know, yeah,
What was that,
OMFMG is I used to wanna kill myself, but the one you're talking about, the scratch my
Came up,
back,
still wanna
make
kill
me
myself.
bleed. That one is Spotlight with Marshmallow. We got dead air because we're doing peep research.
And I'm
It's fucked up on Hellboy. Sorry, you're wrong.
I don't think I'm wrong.
The specific lyrics he's saying is on Hellboy song.
Rip my shirt, kiss my neck. So I did fuck up by saying the word bleed. I think bleed is from Spotlight, but the song I was thinking of, I knew it was like deep, like mid Hellboy.
not to turn this into the Lil Peep hour, but what was also that other?
I swore the flow you were singing was Spotlight. So
I had no flow.
Hey, I'm with Tase, and I think he's right.
I just
I
played
always
it. I got the lyrics right here.
well, I wasn't going off the lyrics. I was
Don't
going
you
off
just want to
the,
support Tase?
I was going off the flow you were singing because the flow you were singing what? Because do you remember Spotlight with the Marshmallow beat?
Spotlight, rip my shirt.
It was not those lyrics. No, but it was yeah.
Spotlight, yeah. Spotlight, yeah. Shawty look good in the spotlight. Yeah. That's the one.
It doesn't
They're
matter.
both
It's
dead.
a bygone
They're
era.
both
No,
dead.
I know it's the
bygone.
Marshmallow song because honestly, I think it was
Yeah.
his best post. I can't even pronounce the word. That song. Like, it was-
Post-
I got too much caffeine and nicotine. My mouth dry as fuck.
posthumously.
Posthumous.
Posthumously.
Posthumous Pete.
Actually, it was
Post-humor. Post-humorly.
Yeah.
Nah, but
it was post Pete.
but like, not to drag a little peep even further, but like I think the one you had in a fucking chokehold was the fucking one was like, I could make you rich, baby. I could make you that.
Yes.
I just
could
remember
make
just
you
like
rich, baby.
driving in the
I could
fucking
make you
G6, just
that.
like going up fucking about to name the street. If you're an always remember Die Hard, you can by episode 83 you're gonna pinpoint our addresses by all little clues that like. But you're just driving up the street, just like fucking swerving.
Save that shit. That's what it was. Fuck my luck and sick. That'd be. Oh my god. Yeah, that time sucked. That era of life sucked so much.
One thing had me in the chokehold was the SoundCloud peep, because there was a time where it felt like outside of Hellboy, like his mixtapes, there's the Crybaby, Hellboy, and then the studio albums, Come Over When You're Sober. It just felt like in a time there was just like unlimited peep songs on SoundCloud, like all the Tracy collabs, all just the random songs. So those like random
Jazz Butler.
Jazz Butler, and Gustav R, however you pronounce it. It just, those SoundCloud songs, had me in a chokehold.
Has he been canceled for the what's the one song where it's like
Like a farmer?
I love the something my little darling, when I drag you to the cabin with the house with the mildew.
Yeah,
He
take
said,
you to the bayou, whatever.
Take you to the bayou with the cabin with the mildew. What he said, they'll never see you, they'll never find you again alive, my little darling. As he gets a little,
He was on his
little
like
so-and-so.
2005 emo
Goth
shit.
Wang.
That's fine.
But all the emo bands in the 2000s were doing that, like Fueled by Ramen, like peak 2000 emo pop punk. They were all bordering into violence, against the girls that broke their hearts.
I was just listening to
Look so good
From
in
Under the-
blue.
Nigga,
You
that's
look
the
so
lyric.
good in blue.
So wear me
Exactly.
like a locket around your throat. I'll weigh you down.
I'll
I'll
watch
watch you
you
choke.
choke.
You look so good in blue. And as a 12-year-old, I'm like, this bitch in a blue dress. Oh, she's drowning. And he's
Yeah.
like, you look so good in blue. Like, that is psychotic.
Now let's back up for a second. Now, how about that for a Buying Ghana Bros core memory, Fall Out Boy? I feel like so when I describe like when old shorty at the office was saying like with the tattoo about she was like
At the office. That is so fucking funny.
but like when she was like or when I talk to somebody about Fall Out Boy, I always be like, yeah, my older brothers, when I was a kid, I just remember I talk about Fall Out Boy being some of the first music I ever heard, because I was like literally 4, 5, 6 young formative years with the Xbox original with the music downloaded on it that you could which was also shout out
your Epstein years.
Shout out Microsoft for like I don't know in the PS2, I don't know if you could play music while you're playing the game.
What we did was that I would put a disc in the PS2 and put the audio cables, the yellow and white from the PS2, and then the yellow and or the white and red, and then the yellow from the Xbox. So I was listening to Fall Out Boy. Like
Wow, my whole childhood's a lie.
No, I think it was the other way around, because I had you could store songs on the Xbox. Man.
I do remember
Great
I
technology.
do remember storing the songs on the Xbox, because I remember like I would play by myself, like go into your room when you were at school and play like Forza fucking 2 or some shit, Forza whatever, one of those early ones.
So fucked up, like putting your foot on it while you were playing. Because remember, like the chords, like
Oh
you had to
yeah.
press down
I remember
on it.
having to put the fucking. I think everybody who grew up in that era who dealt with AV chords, put the books or cases or anything underneath those AV chords. A fucking shoe.
Yeah.
Anything to hold them son of a guns
Our
up.
PS2 was fucked up like that. Like the power cord, like you had to elevate our PS2 in a certain way, because I think it was the power cable that was fucked up, and if it moved, it would just turn off.
Because what? Because you want to say because I was dragging that shit around.
Dragging that shit around.
I saw it was like a 90s babies gonna remember this, and it was the sound and video of someone putting a disc and turning on a PlayStation 1, and like the sound did bring me back, because it was like, man, I remember you heard the little motor speed up and you could hear it spinning and the click.
We ran our PS1 into the ground. First of all, the design of it is so simple. Like, it's the two buttons.
Quiet on the set.
The bill collector.
It's the pod police telling us to
police.
open the door.
Attention, your podcast is too goddamn fire.
We had gotten word that you might be harboring Haitians.
They're eating
There's a
cats.
tunnel.
Yeah, PS1, dude. You remember when our little the thing that you put the CD in, the little thing that spins, like it would pop off. We had to like pop it back in.
Man, back in the day where you had to like wipe.
That's 3.
You had to wipe. Sorry, we're actually also filming an adult film. All right, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back.
So here's a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
I feel like I feel like we're having sex and I'm like jerking off to keep my erection. I'm trying to stay hard. I'm like, come on guys, I can't keep this boner up any longer.
You're fluffing your brain.
Fluffing. That is funny.
That's almost stronger than edging. Like edging that got too drowned out. Gen Z fucked up all these good words. Edging. Edging used to mean something.
Or what was it? Gelch or
Jelking.
jelking?
That's insane.
What is that?
I think
one?
that one's
I
like
think it's
fucking
like-
dead bodies or something, or no, I think it's a penis lengthening exercise.
Okay.
Kind of like male Kegels.
So
Yeah, some
I
shit.
can't jelk. I meant goon.
Yeah, she is so hilarious. I met goon.
I love gooning.
I love gooning. She's so funny.
Oh my
Brain
god.
rot. That's the
This is the fucking the locker room talk. I'm like, immediately go to this.
titties. No, but my joke to
boner.
Jill was
Joking.
like, that'd be a that would make me cry tears of joy. I thought that was a good one.
it was just like dark
Yeah, like-
undertones.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta laugh at your trauma.
But then the OnlyFans, but the Patreon OnlyFans.
Does anybody have to go pee?
No,
Potty
I'm
break?
straight. I'm straight.
I don't want to hold it.
So I'm straight, but sexuality is a spectrum. You done with your Zin? Can I pop this in? Put it in my ass.
I saw one time from some like I don't know if it was satire, but it was some kind of like right wing Twitter personality. But he was all about like real men soak their zins in deer blood. Like he had like a bloody zin that he was soaking in deer blood for like fucking.
Okay, bro.
It was crazy, and people are like, "Don't do this." Like there are venereal diseases you can get from soaking zins in deer blood.
I'm a feminist. I dip a tampon and I'll put that shit in there. I walk around with the string hanging out.
I just put a little uterus lining in my lip.
You're a real man. That's good. I remember there was like, to kind of circle almost a reference to episode 1 TV. I think there was one episode of fucking the Kardashians where one of them was trying to eat their placenta. Like there was like a thing. One of their doctors. It was like some West Coast fad with rich people. Like they would
The nutrients of
when they have a baby. Yeah. It's like it's. You say what? It's a thing. Yeah, because it's not gonna hurt you. It's like there's nutrients in it. It's mad protein and mad iron.
biomaterial.
Yeah. I think sometimes I don't know if sometimes it's good for the women if they have blood loss that they can eat that placenta and get their iron back or something. I don't know. Maybe I just
Just
made
take
that
some
up.
supplements. Don't eat your placenta. I don't know.
But I think you can prepare it in a meal. Would you have like a little salmon placenta?
Little fried placenta.
Little placenta Alfredo?
I'll try. Fuck it. Whatever. YOLO.
The Patreon episode 3.3, the Patreon exclusive is
Fried placenta.
No, placenta Alfredo.
Placenta Alfredo. We have to get some and then try it and then review it. Or have like a live reaction, how they do reaction videos, eating placenta.
Alfredo.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you were talking about the used one. I didn't know I dropped a fresh one.
Oh, that's a fresh one.
Yeah. Want to try
Can you
it?
not a Zen? No, I'm good. I'll be fucking shaking.
Yeah.
I have a headache.
Can you boof us in?
It's gonna be like my first time doing heroin. Like you got to hand me like a bucket. Like
You got some Narcan, bro? I just popped us in.
That might be the intro.
Is this popcorn ceiling?
It's like not popcorn, but it's like
The textured.
Yeah, it's textured.
Whatever it is, it's out of date. Nose up. Nose up and proud. ASMR. Tazi's like, all right, let me go smoke a cigarette real quick.
No, I'm good. Yeah, so welcome back to Always Remember from that short little break. And we were discussing...
What break? That was seamlessly edited together.
Very much so. The
Hollywood magic.
We just had to give a bribe to the pod police, and we're back in action.
Yeah, they stiffed us pretty good. It was Josh Brolin in American Gangster. I don't know why that movie's on my mind so much. I think about American Gangster maybe about twice a month, maybe about 3 times, along with other things. But
That's interesting. I always think about like the plight of women's struggles once a day at least. So I don't know what you guys are thinking.
Thanks
about.
for letting me borrow your Corvette, man. It's gonna be like that. Not yeah, ladies.
He's a feminist.
I was gonna say he's a bachelor. We're at the
I
bachelor
actually
pad.
have a PhD in women's studies. I don't know about you.
I remember that art piece you made on women's suffrage and just highlighting the plight of the female struggle. I think that was very mature of you, emotionally mature.
Yeah.
And he has a big dick. Ladies.
We just like episode 4 is like Ghana G and the Source build tease Tinder. Making tea at Tinder, and like we make it. It's like a girl sleepover. Like we're like don't look. We're making your Tinder. We're making it. All right, look. Okay,
My bio is I stand with women's suffrage. The fist emoji.
You got to do one of those Tinder stickers. They'll
1920.
add stickers where like you can put on your profile. One of them is like women's rights or something, which is insane. Because like, okay, who's not for
It
that?
is funny when people put on sites like that. Their interest is like
Someone who's
equality.
vaccinated.
It's like my what are you passionate about? Equality? Yeah, I mean, everybody.
Whoever, if anyone who else uses dating apps, is anyone else tired of what is your love language prompt? And then every single fucking account would be like, quality time together, physical touch, and words of affirmation. I'm like, are you guys copying and pasting this from somewhere? Is this from like fucking Milk and Honey? Like, why is this such a common thought?
Gifts, money.
But what's odd is that it's always that in that order.
Answers though.
You can't prompt an answer. They'll give a prompt and then
Or
you type
like,
it in.
Oh.
So I'm so intrigued by how everyone, quality time together, physical touch, and words of affirmation.
That shit was taken out of like a fucking handbook. What was that one?
What would you like
Teal
to
Swan?
see? Back shots?
You still be busting out a Teal Swan video?
No, that's funny. I do bring her up because there was someone I was just talking to who's complaining about something at work, and I'm like, look, there's the video I saw years ago. It always stuck with me. 90% of an issue between you and someone else is more to do with them, and it's not to withhold. No, but you didn't even let me complete the thought. I knew you were laughing at how insane it sounds on the front, but not to withhold yourself from accountability and responsibility. But like, let's say you're dealing with a coworker and you get like you ask them something and they give you a mad attitude. Most people would internalize as, oh, what did I do wrong? Did I approach them wrong?
I get what you're
It's like, oh, they could have had a flat tire that day. Like, oh, I had to do.
You never know what's going on in other people's lives.
Yeah, that was kind of.
Yeah, I just like the way you said it. Like,
it has
if
nothing to do with you.
You got problems with them. It sounds like a fucking them problem.
I was like, why you mad I cheated?
It's not me. It's you.
You're the one mad.
Why you mad?
It's not me. It's you. It's definitely not me. I just really don't like you. I can't see you anymore.
I don't respect the boundaries of our relationship. Why are you mad at that? Sounds insecure.
You sound low value.
I don't respect the values of our relationship. Why don't you get that? It's mad simple. There, you have boundaries. I don't respect them, man. Okay, so the PS1 era I did miss. I was there for as a baby. Was what was those tales? I would hit the open.
Yes, I remember. Just a super deep cut. Do you remember the day?
Like guys are playing Twisted Metal.
No, it wasn't Twisted Metal. It was the first time we got a PlayStation because I think we had an original PlayStation back when we were babies, like not even living in Indiana. And then when we got to South Bend, I think there was a few months without a PlayStation, and then Dad had got a new one, and they hooked it up in the living room, and fucking we played Need for Speed.
Yeah, and I
that
was
day?
so young. I was like trying to steer the car by physically moving the controller like a steering wheel.
Yeah.
See, did you guys have multiple PlayStation 1s? Because I
think
remember
just two. I think
Yeah.
the
It
must have
OG
been two.
and then the one that at the old house.
Because I remember there was when I was looking through some of those old home movies, which this one is like a true lost tape. Because when we were going through memory lane, looking at those old tapes, like just kind of recently, a few months ago, like maybe earlier in the year, that was like all the tapes that we could scrounge up. And this one that I do remember from like a handful of years back, I can't find, but it was like you guys are playing PS1, and it was funny because like so. You know, with some context with the 2-year difference, it's like at that 2 years is a huge difference when you're like 4, because it's like a 4-year-old can do a lot more than a 2-year-old.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was cute because you're like sitting on the chair and you're holding. It's like you got the PS1 controller. Alfonso's holding the PS1 controller like this, but you're holding the PS1 controller like this.
I'm still developing motor skills trying to play Need for Speed.
And it was when you're holding it just like this and still have like the fucking like pacifier in your mouth, and like Dad comes in
I'm
the
a
frame.
real gamer.
He comes into frame and like straightens out the controller, and it was like the early days of PS1, like because this had to have been. This is like
99 maybe.
well, I guess I was gonna say because the PS4 dropped in '94 in Japan, but obviously like this is your guys' childhood, so this is probably like 99. So honestly, you guys were just playing old games because there was some better looking titles out at that time, but it was like some real simple like 2D platformer, like those early polygon.
I know what game you're talking about too. I wish I knew the name. It was a pig with a spike ball.
Yeah, it had like some very over the top sound effects, real simple,
Blue's
know,
Clues.
entry.
That was an OG PS1 game. Was Blue's Clues.
That's a wild title. That's a wild licensed game. But and I mean, you fell off you lacking motor skills at that young age, probably lacking neck support as well. You're like sitting at the edge of the chair. You're just sitting, and you just like fall off the chair because it's just like you're sitting at the edge of it, and you know.
And I would be
kids.
frustrated only because like I couldn't play one player. So it's like, okay, I gotta play 2 player. It's like, not even really playing, nigga. Come on now. We got enemies to battle.
So bro, you were
Whole time I need
literally
a Baba.
born with the fucking DualShock 1 in your hand, man. You were born with that controller from the jump. But yeah, no, I feel like when I came into my first console memory is the GameCube, because it was like the GameCube and then the Xbox original. That was like it's mad funny because it's like I'll be like Dad, he'll just like make fun of the fact that I'll be like, he'll say something and he'll be like, oh, you're probably gonna be like, oh, that was back in like 2009 or 2010 or some shit, and June 3rd, because I'm like, I'll just be very specific with dates and shit, like remembering years and dates of things. For some reason, things will stick with me. But I remember being like, it was like 2007 when you got the Xbox original, because that was your 12th birthday.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And I think that's why I have like a
was
personal
4.
connection with Xbox, because it was like, oh, it was my first console. But I wanted to ask, like, that's my personal connection. What do you think kind of drew you guys into, because, you know, bring back the console wars. There a lot of people, because of those earlier eras, will stick with, oh, I'm only going to have a PlayStation, or I'm only going to have an Xbox. And we started with the PlayStation, had a huge tenure of Nintendo, and then now we all have Xboxes. Like, I could not imagine having like a PlayStation 5. That sounds lame.
And another interesting bridge is like you said, like starting with the PS1 and then the whole time period of the GameCube. And then there was a small era where we had a PS2, because it was like when Thrillville was popping, that game we could build amusement
and I
parks.
never
That's what
really
I was going to
played
bring
that.
up before the podcast police had to serve their warrant.
Yeah, I wanted that game so fucking bad. And
Yeah.
it was only on PlayStation, and we were still rocking the GameCube. So for Christmas, when I was in 4th grade, our mom and dad got us a PS2, and they got me Thrillville. And it was like kind of this weird era where we were still playing a lot of GameCube games, so it's like we didn't really fully tap into like the acclaimed library of PS2 games. And then you got the Xbox, so it's kind of like we had a PS2 game or a PS2, but we didn't like
It's not like we were
utilize
playing
its potential.
San Andreas on it.
Right.
That's another thing. I feel like
Shadow of the Colossus or whatever.
everybody.
God of War.
I'm gonna circle back to the Thrillville thing for
Yeah,
that,
go ahead.
That's one story, but I'm gonna circle back in a sec. But I want to say like everybody's childhood GTA is San Andreas, and I kind of missed out on San Andreas. I feel like we all
Mine
kind
was Vice City, actually.
well, that's what I was gonna. That's the point that I was gonna make. Where it's like everybody always is like, yeah, man, San Andreas, that was the one I played growing up. But it was like, Vice City was the one that was like the very, and also it was a game that really curated that love of like
80s music.
80s music and also
Bruh.
film. Like it's called, my Vice City, and it's like obviously such a Scarface ripoff, parody, homage, not a ripoff, but like as a kid seeing that and taking in that media, that's sort of what stuck with me more, not so much like because that was
Story.
what I was gonna say. No, I was gonna say not so much like because I had a lot of questionable like violent influences as a very young kid, just watching, wasn't really shielded from things mentally, but I wasn't really taking in like, oh, like this is cool because it's bad, or this is cool because it's like you're beating up a hooker or like you're killing a cop, but it's like the overall aesthetic, the vibe of like I'm not saying I was like, oh man, yeah, this is like this homage to this 80s culture, and I can contextualize that this is Scarface and this and that. But there was something there that I'm like, there's something about the identity of what Rockstar is going for.
I
that
could
is
even
cool.
make a claim that Vice City shaped how I treat my performances on stage with this domino effect of I didn't really care or appreciate Michael Jackson's music until the soundtrack of Vice City. Because when you're scrolling through the radio stations and I heard that
Billie Jean.
that Billie Jean, I was like, what the fuck is this? And then because of Vice City, Mom getting The Essentials by Michael Jackson, and then falling in love with Michael Jackson's music literally like a few years before his passing. So then being reintroduced to other things during that
Fake
time
fan.
period.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, no, I'm saying
total jest.
fake
total-
fan.
total
I know
jest,
you
brother.
weren't born. You were born 10.
That's
a
at that
decade
point.
after
Yeah,
Thriller.
yeah.
But like, and then so falling in love with his music due to Vice City, and if you watch the Rock My World music video, like that's who I am on stage. That lazy, like bending down and just using your shoulders with the snare, like just like fucking being on point, but looking like you aren't type shit. I love that type of style. So it's like I can find that domino effect of if I didn't have Vice City, I might have not researched as deeply into Michael Jackson's discography and stage presence if I never played Vice City. Random thought.
No, that's cool. Like looking into like making those connections from those very formative experiences, and then how it later influences you as an adult and your interest in, like you're saying, your performance.
Like Rockstar Games, the mind.
Rockstar Games.
Shout out the fucking another good set of brothers, fucking the Hauser brothers, Sam and Dan Hauser, the minds behind Rockstar Games. Which is funny because they actually they wanted to be musicians, but then they just kind of found themselves like in the
Succumbed.
There's a whole thing. There's videos out there that are like documentaries on Rockstar Games because they ended up at like DMA Design and BMG Interactive, and they were just like these two guys. They wanted to be like, which they're two white guys, but they actually they really loved like hip hop and shit. And which is funny because I could tell that they seem like white guys where it's like, oh, you guys really do have a respect for hip hop. Like you seem like you're like Beastie Boys cool, where it's like, oh, you guys, the people respect you.
Right.
People
yeah.
respect you guys. But no, but they pay so many references to films throughout all of their games with GTA especially. But in the first ones, like with GTA 3, with GTA Vice City, San Andreas, they call that the 3D universe as opposed to like the HD universe with GTA 4 and GTA 5. Those earlier ones, those kind of felt more, those fell more into like parody and stuff, and like with Vice City being like the mansion, a clear reference to Tony Montana's mansion. But then GTA 4, then it's like, okay, then instead of just like referencing Martin Scorsese, then they like try to be like that
yeah,
and
that's a
create
good
this
point.
this moody, melancholic, cinematic, very deep story that's emotional, cutting, but also has this element of crime and humor throughout, along with social satire, political observational humor, and just an overall acerbic wit. Very cutting humor. So big shouts out to fucking Rockstar.
That was a childhood memory. Fucking going out on midnight to GameStop to get GTA 5 the day it released. As a senior in
good
high school,
times.
dating myself.
Good times. September 16th, 2013.
That shit was that was so cool, man. And then fucking coming home being like, damn, one whole disc is just for like that era at the
Install
end of the
disc.
360. That was insane.
That was a
all
great
skipped
night.
school. Instead, I
Yeah.
remember like waking up, skipping, and watching you play it.
Seeing
Never really-
Takis.
You went to go is it too much I was gonna say is saying Mr. Autonomous too much of a is that too much of a name drop? But I remember you going out to go to that midnight release, and I was like, knowing I was like, all right, I'm not going to school tomorrow, like I'm just gonna, you know. But I remember like you going out, and it was like the long ass lines. You ended up coming back at like, I don't know, 3 or some shit, like later, way after 12. And I remember like falling asleep on the couch, and then like you coming home being like, yo, like got this shit, and being like, my energy's way back up and shit.
GTA 5, it's home, nigga.
Played that shit.
Probably in a whole hour before we could play it.
You say what again?
It was probably a whole hour of installation before
Wait,
we
but
could
was
play it.
there installation on the 360?
Yeah.
There was?
There was
Okay, at
2
the end.
discs. There was one disc you
Yeah,
put in,
yeah, I
and
did
it
say they
just like
installed this, yeah,
installed everything, and then the second disc was to play it.
I'm trying to think, what was the first game that required installation on the 360? Because on the 360 there wasn't like a hub for like your like a tiles for your games that you owned that you could just like access digitally. Or was there?
Because
I
was like
never-
an option when you had
on
the
the-
disc in.
Because I remember you were the only one with the Xbox Live account on 360, and I know you kind of harbor that grudge against Alphonse.
Not really a grudge.
You hate his fucking guts because what you told me. Remember what you told me in private in confidence about how much you fucking hate him. I'm kidding. For sabotaging your Xbox Live career. No, I'm total jest. But I don't know.
Yeah, random thing. Yeah, that's a whole.
But
Blame Microsoft, like having one account.
Was that true? Because I do remember you saying like, yeah, you can only have one Xbox Live.
I was
account
like, is
on the
this sensitive
360.
information to you? Is this?
No, I remember you telling.
I was joking. I was like, is this actually something you don't want to talk about or something? No,
No, I
No.
was under that impression unless it was only one account got the free. Because if you were the first account made, like you would get it free for however many months. But I don't know. That's something I'd look up. I could completely be wrong.
because it was like your account was like the top. It was like, damn, his yours is like the one associated with Xbox Live.
You're like, fuck this thing. I'm playing Modern Warfare 2 all night.
Hey, what was y'all
But
doing?
I was just
out
gonna
here
say, though-
search and destroy going crazy.
I remember.
Granted, I wasn't playing. Not to interrupt you, but I wasn't even playing like online games. I was playing like random like sandbox games and BioShock and shit like that. So I wasn't even like playing like online shooters at the time.
Plus, it just became addicting. Like that first Call of Duty era, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, like that shit was addicting, bro. So addicting. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, so many times I had to pass the message along from mom, like, "Can you tell Alphonse to be quiet playing Xbox?" Like all those, but I mean, it's like, yo, mom, you know, sometimes you gotta let out a.
Yo,
Sometimes
Live is for the boys.
it's some locker room lobby talk. Nah, but some that anger from a video game, especially a Call of Duty, is like a unique form of anger.
Yeah.
You kind of have to detach yourself from it.
I think it was like Modern
Warfare.
Warfare 3. That's when I
move
started
on.
just having like less fun. It's just like, dude, this shit is lame. No game is good. And then you have that one good game, they get sucked back in for another hour.
I don't think. Okay, what I wanted when I said I would circle back to Thrillville was because you got Thrillville off the rails. That was a birthday gift. Am I
Yeah, that
correct?
was my 11th birthday when I was in 5th grade.
And I believe it
And
was
you broke
sitting.
that shit.
Yeah. That was I wanted to touch on.
I
that.
know you were building up to that.
I wanted to
yeah.
reopen those wounds. No, you could probably say it better. I mean, you were.
It's just like just like a little childhood story. Like I remember, because I had Thrillville in 4th grade, and then they had the sequel off the rails, and I got that for my birthday. I remember like waking up before school.
That shit was
August,
Roller Coaster
baby.
Tycoon before Roller Coaster Tycoon. Probably
After.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was just gonna say that shit was fucking a PC game well into the 90s.
Yeah.
So that weird.
But yeah, I had that shit on PS2, got it for my birthday, and we had bunk beds. We shared a room, we had bunk beds, so like the PS2 and the TV was on one of our dressers, and then I had the top bunk. I'm the older brother, big dog. So I'm like laid I'm laid on the top bunk, so the wires are like going up to the top bunk, and you tried to like jump over the controller wire, which was obviously too tall for you. So then you just like fell on it, and it like pulled.
We would
the
do that a
PS2 on
lot
the
though. Now
ground.
that you're bringing that memory back, the jumping over the wire, like when it was on the bed, like we would
Yeah.
hop over that shit a lot.
And then the game got scratched and didn't work. And
Laser
I only had it
burned.
for a couple weeks.
Hey, we all did it to each other. You remember
I coulda
Assassin's
swore-
Creed 1?
I can't remember how long I had it, but
Yeah, there was Assassin's Creed 1. I remember there was actually a lot of games that fell victim to a laser scratch on the console. Because I remember
Nigga
also,
deleted,
no.
sorry, I'm just remember this nigga deleted my NBA Street V3.
I was gonna bring that up, like being so fucking mad at
now
your
that's a
brother as a
good
kid.
one.
It's like, I'm gonna delete your save file.
That shit was insane.
That's
I had beat
foul.
the story, because when you beat the story in NBA
Nowadays,
Street V3,
that's
you get
scrapping.
everything in the shot.
That's scrapping words
Yeah.
right there.
I think you
Scrapping
deleted my
actions.
save file for the source deleted my save file on the
PS
Warriors on my
and,
PSP.
and Mod Nation Racers.
Oh yeah,
Deleted two.
yeah.
That shit is so slimy.
So foul.
Bro, all these racetracks and characters I made, gone.
Everything you
my-
did, it was just like, you know what? Fuck you.
I was doing that to somebody that, like, when you were like mad into City Skylines, and I was like, man, Alphonse said some shit to me. I just go into your laptop. I go into like it's like Microsoft. It's like a PC. I got to go into the files, like
Files.
Steam
Which one
files.
has the most population?
It's like
delete.
there's a Steam folder with 3 gigabytes that says memory, system memory.
See,
delete.
okay, see that's more foul because if you're doing on someone's PC,
That takes
and
work.
then you go into their recycle bin and double delete it, like that's hate. That's
That
hate.
is, yeah, that is, yeah, deleting. But do you also, because you said Assassin's Creed got the laser scratch, but also Call of Duty 4, which people call it.
that
I hate when people call it Modern Warfare 1. I call it Call of Duty 4.
Yeah, you have to.
You know what I'm saying? But that one also, because I remember you guys were like brotherly fighting, but you guys are kind of, this was like, it wasn't like kid. You guys were like, I don't know.
Sometimes
So
it would
teens-
work though. That was.
But I remember
those.
those. Do you remember this where you tried to like kick him and you moved out of the way and it like kicked the Xbox and it got fucked up? Does that sound?
That makes sense.
I think that was also
Probably.
there. There was also, remember that basketball that fell on top
That
of
was
it?
Assassin's Creed.
That was Assassin's Creed?
I'm pretty
Okay,
sure.
yeah.
But
Also, I kicked over Modern Warfare 2. That you had never stand your
Oh,
360
yeah.
vertically,
yeah,
because I remember I was just like laying on the floor. You were playing that shit. We were playing that
I
together.
think that one I got another one. I was like, nah.
And I remember being like just turning around like mad innocently, and my foot just kicked it, and it just and it made such an awful sound. It's like
Yeah.
stepping on a dog's tail, where it's like it's awful.
Ah.
It's like fucking grinding gears. It's just like no,
No, but I wanted.
sears that shit.
I did want to circle back to. I'll have to put chapters. That's what I want to do for this pod episode. But circling back to Fallout Boy, just the origins of getting into it. Like, I feel like we were around a certain age, like what, like 12, 10.
I was in like 3rd grade, so I was like 8.
Okay, so like 8, 9,
9.
and then like 11, 12. I remember the videos for Dance Dance. Like you would see that on TV, and you're like, oh, you a Fall Out Boy, and then like it getting really big for the Infinity on High because their press run was astronomical. But I remember specifically I had a friend in 6th grade that burnt me from under the cork tree. So I just like felt like,
Oh, a real friend.
oh yeah,
I'm gonna burn
shout
you
out-
from under the court tree.
Shout out Brody. But I remember because it's your friend and like we would rarely get CDs bought for us. So like our selection was real few and far between. So I have this CD. So I'm like, oh, this is dope. So just like running it back over and over and over and falling in love with Front to start. And then like growing up and, you know, you and me drinking till 7 a.m. just blasting
Fall Out Boy Renaissance.
The Fall Out Boy Renaissance, coming back to it, buying it physical. Shout out Jew, got me Infinity on High, one birthday year. That was dope. But
Yeah, my Fall Out
yeah.
Boy Renaissance was like like sophomore year, just like I'm just started to get into like Take This to Your Grave again, and then just I mean the whole that Killers Row really. That's the main canon of Fall Out Boy. It's the first 4 albums. No, we're not really coming into the post hiatus though. Love them, respect them, Godspeed.
Do whatever you want for the bag.
But to me, it's Take Us to Your Grave, From Under the Cork Tree, Infinity on High, Folie à Dos, the real Folie à Dos, not this Joker bullshit.
Yeah, I was like, Joker tainted those words.
Because Folie à Dos used to be like unique and kind of
it's cool,
esoteric or whatever the fuck. It's kind of niche. It's a niche term.
A madness shared by two.
And now, anytime you say Folie à Dos, no one's gonna think of that album.
Yeah, it's seared in my brain with Fall Out Boy. The association.
Yeah,
is permanent.
And they're all classics, dude. All that 4, you can just listen front to fucking back.
And there was eras to it too, like during that Renaissance where it was like I'm like really into Take This to Your Grave right now.
Grave, yeah.
Okay, I'm
you got that raw sound.
Yeah, like the Take This to Your Grave. To me, my favorite
youthful spirit that they have in there. Yeah. A little more pop.
Yeah, it's the most raw pop punk sound, and then From Under the Cork Tree just builds on that further, and then Infinity on High is when they start experimenting with other sounds. They're working with other producers like fucking what's his face? I can't think of it. That was I'm drawing a blank. But they're working with other producers trying to experiment with different sounds. And then of course Folie à Dos where they're building.
They work
on
with
that
Timbaland?
I wanted to say like yeah, I don't know if it was Timbaland. I wanted to say like
Yo,
something with the B.
FOB.
Yeah,
I
I'm
really
not sure.
hope they didn't go to a Diddy party.
I could see them trying to turn Pete Wentz out.
They pull up to a Diddy party and Pete is like, "This ain't a scene. This is a goddamn arm race." I'm ready to dance.
Nas has some line where he
She
was
looks
like,
like she doesn't have 16 candles.
Nas had some line where he was like, Bohemian Grove couldn't get Nas to go or some shit. Like they couldn't get him to come.
No, I do want to get into something a little juicy. Like I know we talking about the Buying Ghana lore, but speaking of Fall Out Boy and drinking till 7 a.m., it reminded me because I just saw a story from this time period 6 years ago. Going to court, bruh. Going to court. That was like such a heavy era. So I just wanted to like ask more so T than Source, maybe because you felt that era a little more. But like to see so much time go by, I'm like, damn, like it still feels so fresh and it feels like such a big lesson because before that moment, before that era, I was just so used to putting so much faith in the hedonistic activities and not caring about any consequence. So it's like I still harbor like those. It still feels like the big hand of the gavel of the lesson is still so close behind me. It doesn't feel like 6 years ago. Like, do you have any relatability to that?
In terms of our era of being bad boys, being cowboys,
being rebels, being outlaws,
bandits.
Yeah,
couple of banditos.
South Bend bandits, Bangana bandits.
Yeah, that was truly awful, and I agree with what you're saying. Like up until that point where it's like you're young, you don't care about consequences.
It's a great way to start. It was truly awful.
Yeah, it was a bad time, bad vibes.
True.
And yeah, I feel like that was like a lesson in just growing up and having to think about, like, I think about a classic piece of advice from our father where he would say, if you're not prepared for the consequences of an action, then don't do it. And that time period solidified that, where it's like, okay, like we are adults, we have to think logically about our actions and the consequences that they can have, whether it be drugs and alcohol or just like riding dirty, just like breaking the law. Like you have to think about these things and just move accordingly. So having to actually go through consequences makes you start to think about that, and yeah, it just sucks. So you do grow up a little bit going through that. So
a lot of scary moments during that period, like specifically to make a connection to Fall Out Boy. There was a time where excuse me, we were listening to Fall Out Boy together, and I was on a fucking breathalyzer on probation that would chime for a random breath test at 5 a.m., noon, and 5 p.m. So I realized like I could finesse it a little bit after the 5 a.m. mark. So we literally just stayed up all night. I think you were drinking, and then I did the breathalyzer at 5 a.m. and was just going crazy, like drinking everything you had in your room that I could get my hands on, even old bottles, being dummy thirsty. Got like 6 old bottles and filled like
Let
one
me get
shot's
a little
worth.
sip at the bottom of this New Amsterdam bottle.
Yep. So like,
I'll use that in Midwest Vice.
what? New Amsterdam?
No, that whole scene that you just
Oh yeah,
painted.
Yeah,
I will use
write it
that
down.
in my. I write what I see.
And then that next day, going to work, and then it was time for I think it was 7 p.m. was the evening one, and then doing that breathalyzer, and it failing, and I'm like, what? Like, dude, it was the whole however many hours ago, and just straight up like thinking that was it. I'm about to fail probation. I'm going to jail. And then I remember calling the lady, not the PO, but like the lady from the breathalyzer company, and like, yo, like I don't know what happened, like straight capping. And she was just.
I think this shit's faulty, man. Like, can I get the serial number on this thing?
I just use mouthwash. Like, I don't know what's going on.
I had like my mom made shrimp with beer. Like I don't know, but
pulling out everything from the
Everything.
playbook.
gaslighting.
Yeah,
some
and
beer
she was
batter
cool
shit.
about it though. She was like, sometimes that shit, because they also go by your history, and I had never failed one over the however many months, and then just like finesse. Now all this shit is flooding back, finessing, because a girlfriend at the time had a birthday right around the time I had to pay for it, and if you don't make your payment, you don't use it until the next pay period. So I remember not paying it, so I had a whole week where I didn't have to use it, just so I could drink on her birthday.
Now on their end, that
And then
sounds
got
like
so drunk on her birthday, ruined the relationship.
no, that's something. But it sounds like a big loophole on their end, or it's like you just have people like, fuck, I'm strapped for cash, boys. I can't
Because
make
they're that
this
third
payment.
party. Like,
Yeah, I'm saying
your
in other
my
people.
PO could have been like, yo, what happened here?
Yeah, I'm saying other people
Luckily,
in
she
other
didn't say shit.
situations. Yeah. Okay.
Scary time. Always like, and then I was still driving dirty. Like, just the anxiety. I think that's what bred a lot of like subconscious anxiety into my being, was just that era of so many bad decisions. So now,
Yeah, because I think about that too. Like, even when we were dealing with legal ramifications, we still weren't giving a fuck. Because my shit, like, I wasn't on probation, but I was on pretrial diversion because I got caught with marijuana. So pretrial diversion is like, it's like for first time offenders. So it's basically like for about a year, you have to do drug tests and pay all these. It's mostly just a drug test and paying a bunch of fines.
it's like
And then
it's like boneless probation.
basically
It's probation light.
Probation light. And then once
You got the free trial or probation.
yes,
Pre-trial. Free trial.
pre-trial diversion, and then once you complete it, it's gone from your record. So I started it and then just like stopped doing the drug test, just stopped giving a fuck, and of course it blew up in my face like I expected. So I had to go back to court, and then just like got a lawyer and just paid some money, had him wipe it away, and then
What did
I felt like Young Thug.
paid the lawyer close to $2 million. He
Yeah,
handled all the
the
killings.
And then I got caught with weed again a second time, and just hit up the same dude.
I did more killings.
Bro, paid him a rack. He dealt with the killings. So yeah, shit. Yeah. And then
The
it's like,
same
okay.
lawyer. He was just like, all right, we're doubling it this time.
I think he was my lawyer too.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah.
you boys.
He's like, these fucking
was gang.
kids.
You guys are
God,
fucking
he was gang.
going to fucking Saul Goodman around here.
And it made me think, like, what exactly are you doing? Like, I broke the law. I pay you a rack, and now I'm good. Like, what are you actually
He
doing?
just
Like,
talking.
Pay to play.
He just
Yeah,
talking. Because
like,
even me, like
I didn't go to law school, so I don't know.
I hired him when I violated probation from CBD, because it does have that small trace amount of THC. And like a dumbass, the night before a drug test, you and me were hotboxing a whole eighth of CBD, like just to smoke. And then so like I remember,
Yeah, if there's any way to get trace amounts to show up, it's gonna be
a
that.
whole eighth the night before.
It's funny. It's like, imagine somebody's like, somebody's buying the CBD and they're just like, yeah, does this shit like show up on a drug test? And they're like, nah, you're good. You'd have to smoke a whole eighth of this right before your drug test for this to show up.
Only an idiot would do that.
Only a
No, but I remember because the threshold was like 0.05 of THC that would like hit the level that would say some shit to your PO, and mine was 0.00. It was like 0.051. It was like one digit to the right of the fucking decimal. Like it was like just barely over that threshold. And I remember explaining to her the truth, and she was just like, "You could have had a hit, like one hit last week." And I'm like, "Bitch, why would I have a hit last week? I would be smoking every day." Like, what do you think is more logical, a hit last week or a whole eighth last night of CBD? I guess maybe, like you said, what dumbass would do that? But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Being crazy.
Yeah, man. A marijuana cigarette will lead you to the ills.
A jazz
of-
cigarette.
A jazz cigarette. I love that. That's one of my favorite. That's 4. No, I'm kidding. Nah, that's you found a copy of Reefer Madness recently, didn't you?
Yeah, at Goodwill, and I was like, this is a rare find. I have to cop this piece of classic propaganda. So I do want to watch it at some point.
But I appreciate the honesty with your story. I mean, I feel like that was one of the things in the notes I wanted to cover. A core memory, also regrets, things we wish we could have done better. The honesty and humility just of life decisions, crossover moments.
Don't
like
do
that,
drugs,
yeah.
kids. Nancy Reagan was right. Just say no.
Well, don't
drugs
do-
are bad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I thought about that yesterday. I was like, was prohibition, like the core ideology of it, that bad? Like a society without alcohol, is it that bad? I mean, yeah, it sucks. I mean, yeah, you can bring up the whole like personal liberties and all these things, like even how I feel about marijuana. Do I want it decriminalized? Yes. But just the concept of a society that didn't had alcohol is open like how we do, where you can just go to the gas station. So I just
Well,
pondered on that
human.
thought.
I feel like, but this, with the human condition, human nature, that's I feel like just not feasible.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Because one, it's like there's that thirst.
I wasn't
that
co-signing it or like defending it. I was just pondering on the thought
Yeah,
of
it
the
is
end
interesting.
result of what a society.
Oh, well, because I guess I was gonna point. I feel like it would have to come down to a bunch of people. It would only work if it's self-governed
yeah,
abstinence,
yeah.
as opposed to like state-mandated abstinence. Because there's
People would have to want it.
it's a natural cause for rebellion, but also just a natural urges that you're gonna try to withhold. Everybody's gonna be edging.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna be on edge.
But to your point, I wanted to say like just not caring about anything, not having any like direction on a purpose or these types of feelings. Finding yourself growing up in this world where there's so many different options and so much was changing during that time period, not just technology, but like you said, growing up. It's our first like half decade outside of high school. It's super interesting to reflect on, like almost like feeling kind of not bad, but a little sad. Like, damn, that's how I really viewed myself. Like I really didn't care that deeply that I was going to go drive on fake Xanax and drunk, with no license or insurance. Like just with an eighth in my center console, just not giving a fuck.
Yeah, it was like a youthful nihilism and also, yeah, just not giving a fuck about the external world or yourself. So it was like a double whammy of just like you said, it is a little sad to think about that. Like, yeah, just not respecting yourself or liking yourself or caring enough
Would it be
to
fair-
move accordingly.
Would it be fair to say it's like its own form of self-harm?
It is
Through
very
consequence.
much. It's
That's like you-
self-destructive.
Yeah,
It's
I see
like
what you're saying though. Like you almost
you
yearning
seek
for that
out,
guidance.
because
so
I remember
much.
as a third party kind of seeing that, where it's like, okay, you obviously you are aware of. It's not like you're just going about like, oh, I'm naive to these things. I'm gonna like, you expect the consequences come, you expect them, but it's in a way you kind of are subconsciously craving those consequences of the pain from that.
Which
But-
almost, don't want to get too vulnerable on pod, but even like, I mean, you all know the like climate of the environment pre that era, and then so leading up to that era, I can see that for sure. Like almost like, let's put the attention back on subconsciously where we feel like it should be, like our development, and even if it came out in that negative way. I think that's interesting.
Guess who's going to jail tonight? Man, speaking of jail, speaking of consequences, speaking of crime and punishment, just trying to stretch just like fucking stretching a segue out of that. Do you remember getting WrestleMania 19 taken away on the GameCube?
I do.
I'm not tying this back into video games, but one of my core memories just as a child, lifelong thing for me, professional wrestling just as historically as an art form. I could have my own just podcast on professional wrestling, just the fucking. All right, today we're just gonna be talking about All Japan Pro Wrestling 1987, Stan Hansen versus Terry Gordy. We're gonna talk about why the Japanese Puresu. That's not racist. That's actually how they pronounce it. It's Puresu. It's like a different Latinized version of Japanese pro wrestling.
And I'll say it like Matt Stone.
Like
Parasu. Shitty walk.
Porasu.
Horasu, yeah.
Did you know that Japan is a different country?
Country?
Oh, really?
Shane Gillis enters the chat. Nah, that was such a great episode. But
Your connection to pro wrestling?
yeah, I'll say because I could just get mad. I love the history of pro wrestling and wrestling. Wrestling as an art form, as a performance art, the athleticism of it, the psychology of it, because even like not to nose up, not to be all pretentious about it, but it's like there's a lot of modern. There's a lot. Wrestling is one of those things that there's different schools of thought, just like music, where there's gonna be like, oh, this is mumble rap, oh no, this is real hip hop, or whether it be with movies, like, oh, this is real film, this is that new age shit. Like with wrestling, there's gonna have those old cats where it's like, somebody who slaps a headlock on and holds that, or holds a Boston Crab for 30 minutes in the middle of a match and works the arm like a fucking house show in 1972. Some people think that they're very pro psychology. Some people now, a lot of the kids today, are pro spots, high spots, that flippy shit as it gets called too. And I'm kind of more in the middle. I think it's like you need to have that perfect blend of good fast paced action, but that action has to have meaning and they have to sell. Not a lot of people sell now. You know what I'm saying? They just take a super kick. There's no story. There's no cohesiveness, but I digress. My point is just like I fucking love the psychology of professional wrestling, but I think the first strong memory that I have was watching. It's kind of two, because I think there's a super blurry memory that I have. Had to be like fucking 3 or some shit. Where like the first time I was like, oh, there's this thing called wrestling, was I think you were on the phone with one of your friends and like from elementary school or middle school, and they like told you to like turn to some channel, and you put it on. And I just remember like turning on the channel and it was somebody like coming out from like an Irish whip, like hopping over somebody, drop down, and this match going on, and like you being like, oh bro, this is cool, whatever, blah blah, kid shit, middle school shit, whatever. Super blurry memory, but my first like time being like entranced by wrestling was seeing the Great Khali hit Rey Mysterio with the vice grip and seeing the blood come out of his mouth.
That's a core memory for, I feel like, a lot of people.
And it's and I feel like in a lot of different generations of wrestling fans, well, if somebody who came up like watching Killer Kowalski or fucking Dick the Bruiser, random old school, or Luthez. Dick. Richard the Bruiser the Third. Nah, but people, it's like any generation of wrestling fan. There's always like that. When you were young, it's interesting to hear like somebody who's like, yeah, that there was this great heel that like made them scared as a kid and hurt their baby face and hurt their guy, that they bought into it. But because it's interesting, because it's like as a kid, although I have that memory, most of my childhood, I knew wrestling obviously wasn't real, but I always approached it. And that was one of those things where I was into wrestling in like elementary school, and I kind of viewed it like I still bought into it as like a TV show. I'm still gonna like cheer on the guys I like, and fuck these guys because they're the bad guys. But I would kind of approach it like you would like a film, where I'm like, okay, even though I'm gonna buy into this, I'm still gonna like kind of be like, well, this, being a smark, where it's like, well, they should have done this with this guy, or the ending of that match, it should have been that, because you're gonna make this guy look strong, or you're gonna really build to the pay-per-view, you're gonna end off on that, you kind of want to go in with some heat with this match on blah 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 blah. So it's like as a kid, I'm like thinking like that, but it's like you tell people like you're into wrestling, and it's like even when you're a kid, it's like it's natural, like, oh, you're a kid, you're into wrestling, but you think like, who's your favorite wrestler? Do you like John Cena? You watch Raw? But I'm just like, nah, like I fuck with it, nose up, pretentious, like I fuck with it like a performance art. But
I see the point you're making in terms of having like different schools of thought, and I see this grand connection you're making between like how you can appreciate it even through an adult lens, but also acknowledging other people have different like views on it. And I might be similar to a lot of people where it's like I don't keep up with it. I think the last time I like even kind of cared was like when Brock Lesnar beat the Undertaker. But I remember
Which was 10 years ago.
10 years ago. Which I even remember before even caring about it. SmackDown was what like really
On the
brought me into it,
CW.
on the CW. But
RIP
I remember even
UPN.
scrolling through the channels as a kid and passing USA and seeing a Raw where Kane like jumped off the top rope on someone who had a chair. Like he put a chair on him.
It was like Hurricane.
I believe it was Chris Jericho, actually, now that I think of the spot, because he was
But that was insane. I remember like
the blood
stopping.
coming out of his mouth. Because I think
I
that's
remember that
insane.
too.
Yeah, I think we were together. There was a point I wanted to make. I can't remember, but wrestling is. I think it like touches on so many things like sports.
And you sure it wasn't TNN?
It might have been. I don't fucking.
I'm sorry.
know.
I'm
just scrolling through. I did think that in my
I
head
think
when
they
I was
were
like,
on
maybe it
TNN
wasn't
at that
USA
time.
because it was earlier in the channels. But
Because Raw, because they used to be on USA. Random fact: they used to be on USA in the '90s. Actually, USA Network used to be the MSG Network. The Madison Square Garden had their own like television broadcast network. It used to be called like the MSG Network, and there'd be like random performances on there and shit. And then that later ended up, which I just learned recently, but that ended up through the evolution became the USA Network. They were on that, and because it's like, if you know, like Madison Square Garden, that was Vince's dad's stomping ground. So like the WWF/WWF and all that, in tight with Madison Square Garden, they were on USA. Then they went to like Spike for a little bit, which is funny. Pro wrestling on Spike TV, it's natural, you know.
yeah.
And then they ended up jumping back to USA later. Random point.
But I wanted to
you
say-
were getting on something that
Oh,
was made way more
No, you're
important.
good. I wanted to just touch on like the psychology of human nature. I feel like as time progressed, where we live in more and more of a safe society. If you go back, 6,000 years with the climate of the world, I feel like there was.
6,000 years.
Well, I'm saying like imagine this. I think men and women have to exuberate the energy that they're blessed with from nature, and I feel like with men there's a lot of aggression. There's a lot like, think of soldiers. So I'm thinking like earlier on, I feel like there was ways to release that aggression in different ways, and as those opportunities became less and less, it evolved into like, I think that's why people take sports so seriously, or pro wrestling, where it is this like way where we can get that aggression out.
Wasn't you were saying? I think Jordan Peterson made some sort of. He was saying something on why pro wrestling is appealing. Sort of this playing
good and evil, yeah.
playing on that, playing on the natural.
Think of Star Wars, like
the natural
the
human
red and
drama.
blue, yeah.
Natural human drama with a good guy and a bad guy, and then you can also play on those shades of gray as you can get with wrestling. But
Real quick, can I say something?
Go ahead.
I think it's funny how
Of course you can, man. It's always remember.
well,
Is that real or is that fake?
it was real the last time, so I don't think it's real.
So it makes it to air, that sound?
Yeah, but I can cut it.
What's the origin of that? Is that me?
I think it was that. But the point I wanted to make was like the wrestler that you connect with as a kid, if it has any resemblance to your temperament or personality present day. Because my favorite wrestler of all time was Triple H. And then like growing up to see that journey of like being the rebel and like wanting to just go crazy and rock star, and then like you put on the suit, you want to like make changes, but you can't do it in that rebellious way. You have to, not conform or do it from within, but just the Triple H journey of being Hunter Hearst Helmsley into, the suit with no hair. I find that fascinating with my own connection. I don't know if any of you guys like.
So with your favorite wrestler as a kid being Rey Mysterio, what does that say about you hide yourself like with a mask or something from society?
But
like
express
a
yourself
Freudian
through the
angle.
art. Every mask was different, but still a mask nonetheless.
Because for me,
Yeah.
my favorite wrestler was Jeff Hardy as a kid. Like all favorite, every kids at that time was, everybody fuck with Jeff Hardy. And then, but CM Punk later. But with CM Punk, his whole thing was kind of being like the indie darling, kind of like the smart marks favorite, because he was like, not a typical, didn't have like the typical wrestler build. He wrestled a different technical style that was more of like a scientific, wrestling style.
Those kicks, those CM Punk kicks.
Yeah, he would he had the pipe bomb. He was critiquing the overall PG nature and the overused formulas and booking of WWE at that time, and would butt heads with the establishment, like Triple H and Vince McMahon in real life behind the scenes, and that sort of made its way into his on-screen character. So I always fuck with that spirit of rebellion within CM Punk.
Because I feel like I did want this episode to be a little bit more of a deep dive. I feel like our runtime is pretty high. But I feel like with this episode, it would have been a fun little slice of life to dig a little deeper. But one thing I wanted to mention was just like our bit building. Like I was trying to think of the earliest time like building bits and when that kind of like started, and random, because I was listening to Michael Jackson fucking yesterday and listening to Human Nature, and I remembered how I had a classmate that would just loved Michael Jackson so much, always wanted to sing it. That. So like looking out, like just saying that while we were making fun of this person, it felt like an early memory of building bits together. I just didn't know if you had like a memory that stood out that was like fairly deep in the past. Because now it's just like, now that's our language. That's all we do is when we speak to each other, we're building.
I'm sorry, I felt like you were looking at me for reaction, but I don't know the guy that you were talking about. So I'm not saying you have to give more context on that guy because I won't know, but that's the reason.
I was in 8th grade.
Okay, yeah.
I remember that bit, yeah.
Little DK, yeah, looking out the brush, yeah. It was just random because it made me think of like bit building and just that muscle.
And when you guys were copying Tyler the Creator, and you had the selfie wars.
Oh,
back in high school.
Yeah.
Great way of prefacing it. Yeah, remember you guys when you guys were fucking posers?
Yeah, because I think to kind of give back out for a second, the idea kind of being like 3 core memories. We were just kind of like, we're just collaging. We're just collaging our ideas, which is great.
Bounced around.
But one thing that's interesting point and idea is like, I feel like for me, there being such a big age difference there was formative in kind of shaping my upbringing, just kind of like, I feel like in general, we kind of, we were like hung out with each other as friends, like siblings, kind of being with each other as friends, as opposed to you guys had your
shout out
friend group. Shout out weed. That was what brought.
Shout out weed.
That was what brought us all together there. But no, I feel like definitely having older influences, kind of just from a younger age, especially like when I was like 8 or 9 or 10 or something, like never really was like, maybe even affected me. I don't know. You could say negative, positively, because I was just like, I don't really want to hang out with people. I've never had a sleepover or been to like another kid's house at all in those younger years. So I'm just like, yo, fuck that. I'm just gonna go there and be like, yo, I'm just trying to like go home, play some Xbox, chill. Like you guys.
Maybe that was the effect of having those older brothers. It was hard to relate to a lot of people because I even think about the friends you did make. They were online and they were older, so you were able to relate to them more than maybe someone your own age.
Which, because good context to those, because it makes it sound like I was groomed online. But yeah,
were
like,
you?
Hey,
anybody offer to fly you out?
That's what, yeah. When it's like, it's interesting. It says a lot about you when you're 12 and then you
playing poker with a 40-year-old from Brooklyn.
For Harlem, actually. And used to sell crack in the 90s. Had a size 9 Jordan shoebox filled with $100 bills to the brim. Nah, he's a funny character. Nah, still keep up with it. It's interesting. But yeah, like that, because that whole Xbox Live era, playing a lot of GTA Online from like ages 12 to like 14, 15 I started smoking weed. I'm like, I don't got as much time for this. But no, it's like really it's like, just responsibilities. But yeah, just not really being at the same wavelength with people. And I think it's also, the temperament that's learned, but then also just like natural introversion and just like, just like I remember the kids would just be like, yo, like, because I would just be like mad quiet. But when I did say something, it'd be like something where it was like, okay, like you're like, there's like a darkness to you, but also like an element of like humor where it's like I don't know, I'm just gonna say some shit that's like some old soul where that was just like, I don't know, I just wasn't really out there.
I see what you're saying.
Mixing
like, being so
and
quiet,
mingling.
people can make projections and assume, but then when you do speak, it's like, okay, there's someone thinking in that silence. There's someone thinking. Before we sign off, did you have a core memory, something that sticks with you at all that you want to get off?
Well, the concept was supposed to be 3 EPs, but we're still, it's a
3
working.
each?
Well, no, it was more so like throughout the entire
But like
episode.
you said, we
You're
were
going through a
collaging.
collage, but
Yeah.
Off rip, I'll probably have to like mull that over for a bit because there's like so many. I mean, there's day-to-day life and just like things with each other and or as a family unit. It's like hard to think of like a specific core memory that sticks out. I would have to
feel
think
you.
about that.
Maybe we could round out the episode of just like us coming together. We've given so much.
we just end on a hug. We just all start.
we had so much PSM individual lore, like, but we never kind of touched on how we came into PSM. Like, maybe that could be its own episode of like the origins of PSM because it did start outside of the family. But once that connection was made, it was just so natural that we each took a role. And there was a period of time where other people were in PSM that weren't just, us four. So it's like, that's interesting.
The PSM alumni.
The PSM alumni, fucking Odd Future downsizing. But yeah, I just think that's sorry, so much caffeine, nicotine.
Yeah, no, because it's interesting you said that being its own episode because I did see that in the notes, which hey, you said mull about it. I wanted to joke at me. I was like, that's what the Google Doc was here for. Core memories, the theme of 3. I'm busting balls, man.
But I am very fortunate. I feel very grateful that, we each do our own thing and we're able to come together. I feel like a lot of families, they might have brothers that, they might dabble in the same field. They might each be creative in their own way. But how many, I think of the Wayans, it's like that conglomerate, that type of dynasty. That's what I want to build out of PSM. I want us to be able to continue doing what we're doing and then somehow opportunities can arise to monetize this, to grow it, treat it like a little flower, a little cherry blossom.
We've come a long way from trampoline wrestling.
That's true.
Do you remember that time that I kneed you in the nose? Got the trampoline taken away?
Yeah, I had a
Which is not
gnarly
taken away. It was
bloody nose.
the access to it was taken away. You're just not allowed. It's there. It's not. We're not moving it. You just can't go on there.
Right, yeah.
Not allowed to,
yeah, I remember that. Leaking.
Yeah, we had some 5-star classics on the trampoline.
For sure.
We were
For
like
sure, Ski.
legit. I think we could have went pro.
Definitely am. Backyard am. I remember watching those videos, like trampoline wrestling.
Those
like
fluorescent
holy-
lights just like smashing on your head.
That's how the Hardys got started.
Yeah.
Nah, wait till we get fucking PSM Pro Wrestling going.
hell yeah.
I was witness. I think I touched on that in episode 1.
It's like the
Accident.
PSM logo and it just turns upside down to a W. People saving wrestling.
PSW, the PSW World Champion.
Yeah.
Little regional outfit.
I do. Oh, see, that was also another thing that I wanted to circle back onto the fucking opening when you were talking about like what got us into these things. For me, also, with just kind of getting into media, like video, because I like to write and approach things kind of with prose, with this sort of like poetic writing tone to it, where it sounds nice when you're reading it in your head, but also liking to make videos as well, having that visual element, and check out The Source PSM, the 007 Diaries. If you're into video essays, film, James Bond, all that jazz. What culture, specifically what culture wrestling, also tying it back into wrestling, like seeing these guys just making content about a niche subject, and it's kind of like the same cast of people, and they have their formula to it, but building this following and monetizing it, and also later having lore to it, like when they started doing like pay-per-view watch-alongs, and then they would have like the What Culture World Champion, and they would almost like be doing like their own like in-world lore and canon with like rivalries and shit. So PSM World Champion, I think that shit may have to become a real thing right there. It's like you have to tune into the podcast. Like, oh, you didn't see episode 37 when they had the fucking PSM Royal Rumble?
I think that's a great idea to even like with this setup we got going here. We could even do watch-alongs, like streaming. Just like this setup right here and just like watch, fucking Folio Dough or some shit.
Just the track list.
No, fuck it. I meant
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm thinking the real Folio Dough.
But I feel
That's
like I
mad
don't
funny.
know the length of this runtime, but for the listeners who have made it this far, I definitely just want to thank your dedication and your attention, because that's all we want to do is provide love and art and hopefully changing perspectives. I feel like that was a big point when you're talking about your philosophy behind writing, and even like your philosophy behind the multimedia art.
I'm not trying to change mine, baby. I'm trying to save them.
Hey, yeah,
Saying.
save perspective, save perspective.
seriously.
Trying to think of a good quote with that, but yeah, episode 3. This was deep. I feel like it's really just our lore. It's just getting to know us better.
Three brothers.
But yeah, I just want to thank you for listening. Make sure to go to thefamilypsm.com. That's where it's all at. We have some ideas cooking up in the chamber, so stay tuned for that. Make sure to check out all of my music on Spotify, Apple, fucking if you're weird like that, on Tidal, okay? Ghana G. Follow me on Instagram, Ghana Tropicana.
I've been The Source. You can find me at nd.thesource on Instagram. That's pretty much like my film sanctuary over there. Just or just whatever I'm feeling, just random niche cryptic story post there. Cryptic 333, you'll find. But yeah, nd.thesource on Instagram, thefamilypsm.com, the source tab, click that there if you're on mobile. Hit those little dashes. You're going to find the source tab. You're going to find my work there. Source PSM on YouTube. Also, go watch the movie American Gangster. It's a good fucking movie. I think about it about 2 times a month.
Just plugging American Gangster. That's funny. Yeah, you can find me at T-Dollaz PSM on Instagram. You can view my work. Yeah, even SoundCloud. If you want to hear some old shitty beats, you can find me on SoundCloud at T-Dollaz PSM. Yeah, trying to get some new things coming in the future. But yeah, and at the end of the day, don't forget, always remember.
Let's go back home. I'm an alien, yeah, my body's a clone. Hey, let's go.
Up and away above the clouds. That's why I stay. I love it now.
I wasn't down to take information, learn the land.
Can we conquer these aliens?
They call them man, they obsess over things they don't understand, like life and what it all means. But they have the slightest clue of all the things that they can achieve. They have all these needs: sex, drugs, money, power. Sit on their phones for hours, chop down the trees for buildings and towers. Don't realize till their planet's devoured. Don't realize that the earth needs some nourishment. Don't even